The holiday software update from Tesla, otherwise known as 2020.48.26, has a new user interface in it, entirely new. And it's been a hot topic of debate in the Tesla community. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm Frugal Tesla Guy. We're going to take a closer look at that user interface and take a look at some of the reasons why people love it and why some people hate it. So this video is really going to focus on the new user interface from the latest holiday update from Tesla. And of course, it's the 2020.48.26. Now, the reason, you're kind of watching this video and it seems like I'm kind of late to the game. Well, there's a reason for that, because I've been spending a lot of time on social media reading people's comments about what it is they love about the new UI, what it is they hate about it. And what I've noticed is that there is not really much in between. There's either this love or hate relationship with the new UI, and it's been kind of interesting reading people's comments. So what I wanted to do in this video is kind of just take a closer look at the new UI and some of the reasons why it is the way it is, because believe it or not, there is a reason for it. And what some people are kind of scratching their heads as to why is it this way. Hopefully I can maybe answer some of these questions as far as my theories. I don't know this for a fact, but some of my theories as to why it is the way it is. So let's start off, first of all, when we were first introduced to this, right? We got a glimpse of this new user interface with the FSD beta users. They were able to show us this new avatar, and people really loved it from the get-go. And of course, I think when people started downloading the new software update and they saw this when they first got in their car, what it did, even though they didn't need it, it kind of helped reawaken some of the reasons why they love the car. So again, you've got this beautiful Model 3 here. Mine is white. If you have the white interior, you'll see the white interior. And some of the other fun things is the door opening and closing, right? You've got the door, kind of that animation. You've got the windows, and heck, even the frunk even opens and closes. Now, I've got the Tesla offer opening and closing frunk, so of course I can close it as well. And once it actually fully closes, then you will see that frunk close. And same thing goes with the trunk as well. Even the charge port door opens and closes as well. So that's really cool. I love that. So it's just a really fun and cool feature that I think a lot of people love. But I think once people got past that, they started noticing other things. Like, for example, this big void space here and this big void space here. That card is no longer there at the bottom. And again, you're left with this gigantic avatar. Then another thing, not only that, they started noticing that this space right here is a lot larger, and as a result, it shrunk the maps. And also as a result, it shrunk the media player. So we have more compact icons stuck together, making it a little bit more difficult to get access to some of these icons here, making it, again, a little bit more crunched. And I think a lot of people have issues with that as well. So another thing that we noticed is that the menu at the bottom has changed. We now have full access to the camera in the back. We now have another access to the windshield wipers, which is a nice feature there as well. I think some people are going to enjoy that. Again, this is all give and take as far as what people like and what people don't. Now, I'm going to put my seatbelt on. And what you'll notice, of course, the cards, you swipe to the right, you still get the odometer. You swipe to the left, you still get the PSI. Of course, the car hasn't been moving, so we don't have that information there. But what happens is, when I put the car in drive, what will happen is I take my seatbelt off, right? See, now that card comes back up with all the information here. And then, of course, the avatar gets smaller, right? But then I put my seatbelt back on, and there you have it. So some of the other observations, now that we're in the car and ready to go, I put the car in drive, but there's really no indication that I'm in drive. You can see right here, it's highlighted a little bit, but we don't have a big D right here. Now I put it in reverse. You see how it starts with an R, and then it goes to the miles per hour pretty quickly. And once again, no big indication as far as what gear we're in. You can see right here it's in reverse, but it's not like in your face, so you really have to kind of look for it. So that's kind of something that people have had issues with as well. Now, another thing too is the battery is no longer green. It's kind of this color coding, and you notice the battery is kind of low. I'm trying to see if I can get this low enough to see if it will turn yellow or red as those warning indicators, because I have yet to really see that. But again, that avatar much bigger. And now as a result too, not just the maps, but you'll notice that the backup camera is smaller as well. So a lot of people are just running into these things that they're beginning to hate this more and more the more that they discover. And now again, another thing on the bottom here is that because you've added the camera and the windshield wiper access, it's pushed everything else to the right. So now you have to reach farther to get over to the climate controls. You have to reach farther to get to the window, to the seat heaters. You have to reach farther to get over to the defroster. So again, it's just one issue after another that people started running into. So now what I want to do at this point, now that we've just kind of taken a quick look at the avatar and some of the effects of this bigger space here, we're going to go ahead and take the car for a drive, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the new visualizations that we have included in this. Because again, one of the things that we're noticing is that, you know, when we look at the old side here, you had the park and everything was nice and neat over up in here. So this was all filled in with information, and same thing down here. But what Tesla has done in this new software is that they're making space and more room for visualization at the top and the bottom. So what they've had to do is put things to the far left and put things up top here, and that allows for more room for visualization. So right now you see this big void of space, but then you'll see as we start driving that there is a little bit more use in that space once we get into that visualization. So again, here's that quick look. Let's get on the road and see what that visualization looks like. All right, so now we put the car in reverse, and we've got the car that I don't have my seatbelt on, right? So that makes the avatar smaller. I'm going to go ahead and click it on. Now we have this big avatar here. Again, still a lot of voided space. I'll of course see warning indicator lights around the car, indicating we have a lot of objects around the car, but you know, nothing major. So as we back up, we can see this again, that backup camera is smaller. But we still get the indication at the top here. So there goes my garage door. So let's go ahead and back this thing up and get on the road and see what kind of visualization we get. All right, so here we are. You can start to see some of the visualization in all, I mean, just look at this huge space. But remember I was talking about they wanted to make room for the visualization. So you've got all of this stuff up top and on the side here, and all this voided space. Now, again, you can see there's a car coming right here. Let's see if it picks it up. No, it didn't. But you can still play around with the animation and get it bigger. And then eventually, once you leave it alone, what will happen is, you can see a visualization here. You got the car. But again, so when you drive on a residential street like this, it feels like a lot of wasted space that we're looking at here. So here you have, and a lot of people have had issues with this, and when we get on a more of a major road, we'll get the speed limit sign. In fact, we should get a speed limit sign up here pretty soon. There it is. So here's what we're looking at right now. So we got the speed that I'm going, that's the speedometer. This circle with the 25 on it says, hey, if you were to put it in autopilot, that's the speed you're going to be going, is 25. And of course, you got in between that, you will have at times, of course, when the autopilot will be available. So that's what we're looking at up on top here. And again, of course, the maps are much smaller. So let's get onto a road here. But I just really wanted to illustrate what some people already started having issues with, is this big voided space that's on the screen here, and it just seems like such a waste. Okay, so now that we've got kind of on a more of a major road, we've got traffic lights, we've got more lanes, we've got other cars, and one of the things that I'm having issues with Tesla releasing this new avatar and this bigger space for visualization is the fact that they didn't turn on a more sensitive and more visualization. What I mean by that is the visualization that we're seeing now is pretty much the same as it was before with the smaller space. So as a result, we're not seeing more, but we're just seeing more void space. But if they turned on more visualization, say, you know, more images on the left here and on the right, then it would feel like that wasted space is at least being used. So here's a car pulling up to my right. So that's pretty normal that we're seeing right here. And we also have the traffic light right here. Now, of course, the traffic light, as it gets farther away, it's going to be more up top. So again, a lot of wasted space right here that it feels like, right? Because we're just not seeing as much visualization as the car is actually seeing. So they haven't put that in the software yet, it feels like. So sure, they've given us this, but they haven't really put within the software for us to actually see more. I'm not seeing any more in this visualization than if this screen was smaller. So that's why people are having, I think, such big issues, is that Tesla hasn't done that. So that's, I think, one of the big mistakes that we're seeing in this release, at least from Tesla's side. But I think it's one of those things that once we start getting more visualization, people will begin to realize, oh, that's why there's so much voided space, because we have to see all these other things. Now, here's another thing I want you to take into account, because some people have made the argument of, well, why, if the car's driving for me, why do I need to see so much if it's driving for me? And there's a very good reason for that. That's a very valid question and a valid argument, but there's a reason for that. And the reason being is because we are not at level 5 full autonomy yet. All right, we still have to have our hands on the wheel. We still have to pay attention. We still have to know what's going on around us and to be able to take control of the car at any moment. And of course, most of the FSD beta users and people have been on, posting their videos on YouTube, they have expressed that time and again to help people understand that we still have a long way to go before we get to full autonomy. And that is something that I think a lot of people are forgetting. So just to kind of give you an example, and I'm at a stoplight right here, and I guess it doesn't really matter. I can still kind of explain what it is that I'm trying to do. People may look at me while I'm talking on the camera here. But, all right, so to kind of give you an example of what I mean by all of this, so you still have to see. In fact, if you look at any of the videos from people who are posting videos on full self-driving beta, one of the things you'll notice is that you have actually a lot more visualization on the screen in the FSD beta than we're seeing here. In fact, you just reverse these screens here. You've got just a little bit on this side that's map, and the rest is visualization. So again, that argument is, well, why do I need to see so much of what the car is seeing if it's driving for me? Again, it goes back to that argument that we're not at full autonomy. We have to pay full attention to what we're doing and what the car is doing. So for example, if you're driving down the road, and again, we're supposed to be paying attention even though the car is driving for us, you see an obstacle, whether it's a pedestrian or someone on their bike or something that's going to basically take you off your current path, at least even just a little bit, you need to make sure that as a human, you know that you're going to have to either swerve a little bit to the left or to the right, depending on where the obstacle is, right? You have to, as the driver, have to know that the car is seeing that as well. So by having more visualization space, you can look at the screen and go, oh, it does see what I'm seeing. So then you can see the path that it's moving and go, oh, it is going to allow room and make room for it. And then as a result, it does. But if you notice whatever it is that's in the way, and you look on the screen, you go, well, wait, it's not seeing that pedestrian or it's not seeing that cyclist. So you have to pay even more attention. And then maybe it doesn't start giving space for the pedestrian or the cyclist, and you've got to take over. So that, to me, and that is my opinion as to the reason why you need that visualization. So that argument of, I don't need to see what the car is seeing. Yeah, you do. If you're using full self-driving, you do need to know what the car is seeing. Now, once we reach a level of full autonomy, level 5, which, who knows when that'll be, then yeah, you won't need to see all of that, because the car and the technology will have reached a level that you're not going to have to worry about that. You can kick back in your seat and not even have to look at the road or even have your hands on the wheel, or there may not even be a wheel in the car. So that is the reason why, because I've been hearing so much and reading so much on social media from people saying, I don't need to see all that. If you don't have full self-driving, yeah, you're right. But if you do, and if you are using full self-driving, no, you do need to see everything. And in fact, what you're seeing here is small in comparison to what you're most likely going to see when you're using full self-driving. Because again, if you look at the full self-driving videos, the space of visualization is much larger. In fact, it's about an 80-20 split. 80% visualization and about 20% of maps. And again, that's because you need to make sure that the car is seeing what you're seeing. Okay, now let's talk about navigation, because again, people love the big maps for the navigation. And when you are looking at a smaller map, people are getting a little bit more concerned about that and not happy about it. So one of the cool things that they've added to the navigation is, take a look at this. When you cover up the maps, and in particular the directions, take a look at what happens. We now get our next turn and all the directions on the visualization screen right above where that voided space is. And this is actually really cool. And this is something that I quite possibly see Tesla doing in the future. That's something that could be there permanently. Is it going to be something that may be redundant in the future? I don't know, because if you have the turn-by-turn directions up here, but also on the maps, then it may be redundant, and that's maybe the reason why they don't have it up there for both areas. But I think that may be something that they may incorporate in the future, because a lot of people really love having their turn-by-turn directions right there at the top. Now again, you don't have the maps, right, as a reference, but this is really nice to have it that close to your field of vision. It just makes it a lot easier to see everything and to follow those directions. Now, of course, a lot of times you'll be in autopilot and it will make those turns for you, but if you're not using autopilot, this is just a great feature in general, I think, for people that are going to love that. So that is one thing that I think a lot of people would like to see in the future in a new update, is to have that there permanently. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to address was the instrument cluster up top. There have been a lot of opinions about this as well in the overall layout. Now, some people have actually argued that they don't like it, that it's just all too tightly packed, a lot of information in one spot, and that it's difficult to actually, find what it is you're looking for. I tend to disagree. Now, the reason I say that is because I actually like this. You can clearly see the speedometer is bigger and in bold letters or bold numbers, right? Now we have the bolder letters here as well. But as I take it out of autopilot, you can see now we have the lighter color for the 35, which is where the speed that it'll go to. If I put it in autopilot, this is of course the indication that autopilot's available, and then of course you've got the speed limit on the far right. So again, a lot of people have said this is just one big cluster that's too close to one another, and sometimes you can have all of these numbers matching and it can be confusing. And again, there it is. You see how they all match? They're all at 35 miles per hour. So again, I can see that. I can see that argument, but at the same time, I'm going to have to disagree, because I think that I love the speedometer the closest that it can be to my peripheral vision and my field of vision right here. So it's much easier for me to just take a quick glance at the speed that I'm going. And as far as the indication of autopilot and the speed that it's going to go, I mean, it doesn't confuse me. I know what that circle around the 35 means. And this is what a speed limit sign looks like. So I'm not going to look at a speed limit sign going, I'm going 35. No, I'm looking at 26. That's the speedometer. So again, I really do disagree that this is just a really bad layout. I don't have any issues with it. I think it's perfectly fine. And again, I reiterate what I was talking about. There's a reason why Tesla did this. They wanted to make more space for visualization, but it's at this point in the game that the visualization doesn't make any sense right now, because the majority of the people don't have full self-driving beta, so it's just quite honestly, a bit of a waste right now. But I think what will happen is once more people start getting FSD beta, they're going to begin to realize and understand why this is as big as it is. Because you need to see more of what the car is seeing so you can make better judgments while the car is driving for you. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to talk about in the instrument cluster is up top. The Regen Line is actually thinner and smaller. I'm not sure why they did that. It seems like they could just make it a little bit thicker because right now as it stands, it's such a thin line and it's really hard to tell what you're looking at. Of course, it's that black line right up here. Now, I'm going up a hill, so I don't want to slow down too much, but that Regen Line is just not a really, I don't know, I just think they need to make it a little bit thicker, and there's no reason why they couldn't. I don't think that they're trying to save, the trying to save space thing here doesn't seem like a good argument to me. So let's just go into Regen here. We'll go into the green. And it's just so small, it's kind of hard to tell. Is this an important thing for people to see? Not necessarily, but it's always nice to know your energy usage. A lot of people who do really pay attention to that do actually use that line a lot. I know I have, especially on road trips, I use it a lot. So I think it would be nice to have that to be a little bit more visible. So just to kind of wrap this video up and put up some of my final thoughts here is that first and foremost, I could have really touched on a lot of other topics, but I didn't really want to make a super long video. And I just wanted to really touch on some of the biggest topics that people have been talking about, commenting about, and really just kind of complaining about in general. So again, there are a lot of things I could have talked about, but those were some of the main things I wanted to highlight. One thing that I would like to mention is that I don't think that this is the final and end product that we're seeing here on our screen right now. There has been so much verbalization on this that I do think that Tesla, and we all know that Elon and Tesla really do respond to their customers. So I think they're going to take a lot of these comments and complaints and probably tweak things here and there. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I do think that we are going to see some changes. And one of the first changes that I think we're going to see is going to be in a future update. And Elon has already even confirmed this, is that in a future update, you will be able to customize the look of your screen. So for example, those of you who don't have FSD or will ever have FSD beta, you don't need the bigger visualization screen, or you may not want it. And you'll be able to go back to the smaller visualization screen that we had before. But for those of you who have FSD and will eventually have FSD beta, you will probably want the bigger visualization screen. And once you activate FSD beta, there's a very good chance you may not even have that customization, as you will probably have what you're seeing here on the current FSD beta, and that is the much larger visualization screen than that of the maps screen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that in the future. And we're also most likely going to see different visualization, as Tesla has already pretty much indicated that once we see a bigger rollout of FSD beta. But in the end, I just think that this is still a work in progress, and we are going to see more changes in the months to come as we see more software updates. So I'd love to hear what you think. One of the great things about this platform is it does allow me to kind of express my opinion, and then of course I don't do a lot of that. A lot of my videos, if you watch my channel, are kind of more educational to maybe help you make your experience better with the car. So it's not very often that I do these opinion videos. So this was kind of fun. I enjoyed it. So hopefully some of my opinions may have sparked up some new thoughts and some new opinions. So I'd love to hear what you think about some of the things that I may have mentioned in this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think? And I'd love to know what you think in general about the new holiday software update. What are some of the things that you do like? What are some of the things you don't like? Again, I just love this platform, and I love reading your comments. It's fantastic. Now, one thing I would like to mention as we kind of wrap up this year is I was looking at some of the analytics in my video, and I've noticed that I do have a lot of viewership outside of the subscriptions. And I appreciate all of the subscribers now, but it looks like there are a lot of people coming back to my channel. So I would just love and appreciate if you could do me a favor and click that subscribe button if you come to my channel more often. I would really appreciate that. And of course, you know the drill, right? As I typically end my videos, thank you all so much for watching, and you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and stay positively charged.